Okay, we're going to get started or continue.
Right.
Hello.
We're started.
I didn't need a bouncer, but all right. So we do have a guest today who is running late, as you know, and we're not what we're about to do is not stalling. This is how I wanted to start to begin with. So so you all watched the video. Most of you watched the video of Mr. Irvin Moore, and that was designed particularly for you all this semester, which means Irvin Moore has spoken in this class for multiple semesters, and we haven't been able to take the conversation deeper because, you have to learn about who he is, and then there's things to talk about further, right? So today, the intention is to have the opportunity to talk further about Irvin as a case study, okay? So what I want to do is just hear a few thoughts that you had those watching the video of Irvin. But before we do that, I just want to say a couple of things. One is that as of today, I've known Irvin for about 20 years. I just confirmed that I met him in October of 2004. So that's how long I've known Irvin. And Irvin, as you probably remember from the video, came out of Rockview, where, not just at Rockview, but he spent, this is for folks who don't know the story of Irvin Moore, spent 52 years in the penitentiary for a homicide. So 52 years, probably most of your parents aren't 52. More than double most of your lifetimes. It's a long time. 1969 is when he left the world and went into a different world. So what's important in Social 119 is that Sam is always wanting us to ask questions, right? We all have our categories and we have our knowledge and we have our assumptions, but our intention is to ask questions. And so we do want to ask some hard questions, but the focus we want to be on questions. And we have some comments from the stream from the last time Irvin was here that we're going to kick off some of that with. But first, I just want to hear from some folks about when you watched the video, what was something that stuck with you or that you were curious about? Because normally, by the way, Irvin normally stays after class and you would have the opportunity to talk. That's not going to happen today. He has something right after this. So anything that you want to know, we're going to talk about today. So are you seeing? So something that struck you in the video in whatever way that something strikes you, something about his story, his experience. Okay, you're the class savior. You'll always ask a question. Just something that you remember first.
One of the biggest things that I was thinking while I was watching the video was, I wonder if he would have gotten a life sentence if he wasn't black, because naturally at 1969, racism was a much bigger influence when it comes to the judicial and social aspects of our lives.
So I can answer the question for you. But there's a question and then there's an observation. Your observation is that you're like race. It must be a factor, right? Pennsylvania, if you take a life, you get life. So, that's the law in Pennsylvania, which most people don't know. It's not the law in every state, but it is the law in Pennsylvania. So, if you happen to commit a homicide on the border, you live in New Jersey, but you committed it in Pennsylvania, and you're found guilty, you get a life sentence. So it's very interesting. So so thank you for starting us off. JP. Sorry? I'm sure everything depends, but life means life in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's pretty harsh. I mean, you may think that's perfect, you know what I mean? But it's serious. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was a mistake. We have a question. Okay, go ahead, and then it'll be you.
Yeah, I was just wondering about kind of the debate or somewhat like the controversy over education in the prison system. Because I remember the program that allowed him to study was discontinued shortly afterwards, like after he started. And I was wondering if they reinstituted that or if there's still an ongoing debate about it.
That's what made that stand out to you. That's what's important.
What made it stand out to me is like this whole kind of scenario or this kind of like idea of the prison system isn't necessarily new to me. And something like the education in the prison system is something that I saw in like a movie when I was 13. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And if any of you know the Restorative Justice Initiative on campus, that's a very big part of what they do. And Irvin is part of that. He's a staff member there. So there's a lot to say about all of that. And it depends on the state and universities and all of that. But yeah, and it's a question of what should people be doing in prison, right? Okay, but I told you had your hand up. This is serious in here. Go ahead.
One thing I found interesting at the end of the stream is like this was the first stream that we all watched. We had a chance to see the live chat, and at the end of the stream, I took a look at it and found that the chat was very polarizing, and that there were people who disagreed and agreed with his story.
Yeah.
And there was kind of an argument about how race played a factor into it, and I just seeing the argument at the end of that, at the end of his story, was interesting to see.
Where did it take you, seeing that debate or the polarizing nature of it?
It was interesting. There were a lot of people who disagreed with him.
In what sense? What stood out?
I don't necessarily agree with this, but there was one user who said he played the race card in reference to like when he was talking about how at the end of his kind of stay he saw more people of color being brought into prison, and then there was kind of a discussion which sort of turned into an argument about that.
Okay, about whether that was real or not? Okay, thank you. I love how people look at different things. It's always the case. And here is Mr. Moore coming down the stairs. Are we back to you? Irvin and Cora, you can come on in. We expected a grand entrance. So Irvin, Cora is a little nervous, but she's really, really sweet. Okay, so Irvin, what we're doing right now, Irvin. Okay, I'm over here. So what we're doing is getting some comments from folks who have watched the video of your story, and they're just telling us what are some things that stood out. Okay, so you want to have a seat. Hello, Cora. She knows that. Hello. Hi. One of the things about Irvin, I don't know if he mentioned it in the video, is that when he was at Rockview, he learned to be a canine handler. So he was training dogs and kind of rehabilitating them, and then they would go to a family who needed them. So this is the dog that he has gotten on the outside. This is on you. You must have been through something.
I've been through something today. I most certainly have. Messing with you and Sam. Or Dr.
Shade.
Richards.
Hi. Okay, have a seat. Okay, someone, you had a wait, what happened? Yeah, what?
Go by order of raising hands.
Okay, we're in order. Okay.
You're sentenced to life without parole. I was just curious, how you actually got out of prison?
So, we're going to talk about that. He's not going to answer yet, just because he's going to, hey, when you come and you're not here for the kickoff,
When you're
you
ready,
got to go.
When you're ready to turn the show over to me, then you.
Yep. So you just want to know what the process was. Okay. All right. Cool. And that was sort of that's your question. Okay. Finally.
We're kind of similar on that front. It's like, is it becoming more and more common for people who are given life sentence to come out of? Was it harder to say back in the day from your experience?
Okay, wait. He's not going to answer yet. Just
okay. Yeah. Don't answer.
Just
Yet.
have
This
a
is
seat.
just.
Hold that question.
Yeah. This is just some
So
curiosity.
a lot of people
Hold
wondering,
that
like,
question.
whoa, how did you get out? Any other things that stood out? That's not about the getting out of prison? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, just something else I noticed in the chat is that people were also polarized on the fact that you got out of prison, sir. Do people deserve second chances or not?
Say that last part again.
They were saying some people don't deserve second chances.
Uh-huh. And we're definitely going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anybody else who has... Is this the last person? Okay, go ahead, Mia.
I just wanted to say that the resilience really stood out to me. My cousin was incarcerated for 27 years, and then he was exonerated. And he earned a master's, a bachelor's, and he was going to go to law school before he passed away last year. So it just always stands out to me, like, how resilient these people who serve these sentences come out of prison and how they're not bitter about their look on life. So that stood out to me a lot.
So you would have assumed that he would come out bitter and not necessarily educated and very different. Mm-hmm. So thank you for those first thoughts. So Irvin, you and I didn't get a chance to check in, but we have a slightly different, not totally, but slightly different mission.
Okay.
Which is,
if you say so.
Not vastly different, but just a little bit of topic-wise. Okay. So I do, of course you're going to respond to some of the details of how did you get out, right?
Of course.
That, but also because they were able to watch your story already, we've been able to touch on and look at the comments that are polarizing. People that are thinking this is not a good idea.
Sure.
And so we want to talk about that, and we'll put up some of those comments in a couple minutes.
Of course.
Okay. So why don't you just start with like how did the doors open and you come out here?
Well, when I was sentenced to life in prison, when I was arrested actually in 1969, before man walked on the moon, before Woodstock, which some of you might have heard about, before McDonald's was a household word. I was your age, basically. I was your age with a life sentence. And I prayed every day that I did not die there. You understand? Because in Pennsylvania, a life sentence is until you die. It's not like you see on television, 15 to life, 20 to life, 25 to life. The judge does not have to say in Pennsylvania, I sentence you to life without parole, because that in effect would be being redundant. He doesn't have to say that because there's never been parole for lifers in Pennsylvania. So, I'm your age, in the penitentiary with a life sentence. And with all my heart, everything within me, I did not think I was going to die there. And I made up my mind to do any and everything that I could to show people in positions of power, authority, policy making, legislation, that I deserved a second chance.
What made you think you deserved a second chance?
Because I know me.
What did you know?
I knew who I was as an individual. Mm-hmm. I know intrinsically, like all of you, know who you are. You know whether or not you're a good person or not. Pardon my expression, you know whether or not you're an asshole, too. You know that. But there's ability and opportunity for change in all of us, in all human beings. We grow, we develop, we mature, we change, if we're lucky, if we're blessed. So I knew that enough about myself to know that I was not an evil person who did not merit redemption.
How soon after you were there was that thought in mind that you were like, I deserve?
Actually, the thought was it was always there. It was there from the day they put the handcuffs on me. It was there the day that I was sentenced, the day that I went to Graterford Penitentiary in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, most notorious prison in the state. 50-foot walls. I mean, dark, dank, dirty, dangerous, all of these things. I knew that then.
Irvin, can you sit here? It's just hard to...
It's hard for me to express myself just sitting down.
What
That's
can
not
we
my
do?
style.
But
You know,
Cora and I.
This is my sister here.
Cora and I are having a hard time.
Daily. Sam Richards is my brother, but I'm older than both of them by decades. So, when she said something like that, can you sit here? I said, nah, I don't want to. What do you mean?
Cora's having trouble. It's not. It's your daughter.
She's not having trouble. She's okay.
Thank you, Cora. Look at.
Yeah. She wants to be where Daddy is.
That's right.
See, I know this.
So do I. That's why I said it.
It's okay. So go ahead, sis.
So, all right. So I want to stay with what you're talking about. Did you get a picture of that, by the way? That would have been so Cora.
That would have been nice.
Do you want her to get up here? She could. Do you want to put her up here?
If she wants to.
Cora, if you're happier up here.
Come on. Oh. Come on. Come on.
She's scared now.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, okay. Then you stay down there. It's okay.
The chair behind you. Can she get up there?
I don't know.
Go ahead, Cora.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Go right here. Right here. Right here, Cora.
You can tell she's trained. But she's trained not to be terrified of human beings, which she was when I initially got her. She had been inhumanely treated. She had been abused psychologically, emotionally, physically, and kicked and chased and beaten. Had no name recognition. And was terrified of us, two-leggers. Some say as she should be, as all creatures maybe should be. But today, she wouldn't have done this when I initially got her. She wouldn't have sat in this room with you guys without trembling, convulsing, vomiting even. So she is learning. She's learning to trust some of us. She trusts, I'm Daddy. This is her auntie. Oh, I used to see them together. You know, make you sick. Yeah,
I love Cora.
Indeed.
All right, Cora, you don't want to get up.
So.
Okay, so staying with this idea of knowing yourself, deserving another chance, how different are you, or did you see that you were from other people around you who also had sentences that, because some people think people are evil who are in prison, as you just said.
I mean, to me, evil is an entity. But I have met some people that bordered on that threshold of being evil, which is why today I am not necessarily an abolitionist.
Can you say more?
I don't believe that prisons should be razed to the ground today. I hope we can evolve to the point where we don't need prisons anymore, where we can act as if we understand what it is to be human. We can act morally, ethically. We can act with respect and dignity. But that's going to take some while. That's going to take some time. You guys understand what I'm talking about, because we as human beings can be complex and mean. So, in answer to your question, of course, I am no exception. I am not. There's so many brothers and sisters that are serving life sentences or that are in prison, period. They should be home. They should be home, should be out here. Should be with their families, their friends, their loved ones, should be with their community, should be making the kinds of changes and differences as they're making on the inside.
So this is one of the things that maybe we could put up some of the comments, because I think we're already in that territory.
Sure.
So this, I want you to look at that one. Can you read that? Protect your kids from men like Irvin. This is all a show. Irvin has practiced mimicking a good person. It's not in his heart. If it were, then killing another person would have never been an option.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
Oh, yeah. Now.
Wait, hang on.
I know.
What's your response? Wait, hang on. This was just a comment on the stream.
It's okay. It's a comment.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about it, right?
I'm gonna keep it a beat. It sound like Bull just as bad as Irvin. Why he going at him in the chat? Weird.
Wait. Can you say that again?
First off, I feel like that's mad disrespectful. Cause like, not saying that Irvin did something that was okay. Obviously, it's not okay. But like, he's actively showing that he's went through a transition in life. He's changed and he's doing something better. Speaking to all of us, so like, I don't even think we should have even showed that question. That's drawn. Like, I wish I could have seen who said that.
Well,
or the one that
so here's the what I hear from you is that you're convinced when you listen to Irvin, as you did in the video, and you see him here, you're convinced that change happens and that transformation has happened to this person.
It's not even about a convincing. Like, I feel like it's obvious. Like, come on,
Okay.
man. He served a life sentence. Like, what do you think he? First of all, how old are you, Irvin?
78.
What the hell y'all think he gonna do at 78 years old?
You just came at him.
No,
I don't know how to respond to that one.
Come on, man. You know you.
Wait. Okay, hang on.
First of all, you from the Biddy just like me.
Wait, hang on. So I'm appreciating that, the passion of that, right? So this is what Irvin's mission is, to talk to people, to be an example of like, hey, change happens,
Exactly.
right? People aren't necessarily to be understood only by a mistake that they made, or
Exactly,
even
that's
a
not
way
fair.
that they were, right? But there's also the perspective that some people don't change, or some people should be punished in ways that you won't accept, or that Irvin doesn't accept. So let's, please, yes.
Wait. How many people think Irvin changed? Raise your hand. How many people think he changed? So whoever watching right now, eat a dick.
No, that's not good.
My man. And I don't even know this brother. But then I do know this brother.
Come here.
I do.
I want to say something though, because I'm also a case study. And let me explain why I'm also a case study. Because I'm a person. Whoa. This is for you. Yeah, it's for you. Not just for you. I'm a person who went into the prison in 2004. The day I found that out. The day I met Irvin.
20 years ago.
20 years ago. I didn't go in there thinking, oh, these are a bunch of nice people who should be exonerated. I went in with a colleague who was taking his students there to learn, right? So I think, anyway, I'm not appreciating the clapping. And why am I not appreciating it? Because I think there's more to, even though I am the person who, when Irvin and a bunch of other lifers walked into the room, I didn't even know they were the lifers. And my first thought was, who are these quality men? That was my first. They were in jumpsuits and whatever. That's how little I knew about prison, that I didn't even know that these were incarcerated men. But what stood out to me was that they seemed like quality men to me. And after many years of meeting with many of those men, I still think the same thing. But I don't think that that's everybody. And I don't think that people are, I just wouldn't go as quickly as what you are. And I think that we deserve to,
But you are not him.
No, I'm not talking to
And he deserves his opinion.
No. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to the entire class that
I mean
clapped.
the same thing.
It doesn't matter, Irvin. We're here to actually critique. Seriously.
Do you see what I mean? My sister, my little sister.
Hang on a second. No. I think that it is most important.
Okay.
No. No, Irvin. No. Not that, please. Really, women.
Oh,
it would not
please.
be cool.
I do that to men.
Irvin.
It's not just
Irvin.
a woman. It's not just a woman thing. It's
Irvin.
not just a man, a power kind of thing. It's not that. It's just that
This is how siblings
there
are.
are instances when I differ in perspective and opinion.
That's
And
why we're
when
having
that-
this
when that
conversation,
happens-
Irvin. That's why we're having this conversation, because
No, that's not a conversation.
No.
We're having a monologue right now.
we're not.
Okay.
Can we see the next comment?
But I'm not finished this comment. You didn't give me a chance to respond to that. What I want to say about this comment here is that this guy doesn't even know how to spell my name correctly. He spells it two different ways. I know that's a surface kind of thing, but I know, yeah. I've struggled all my life to let people know my name is not Irvin with a G. It's Irvin. Black-oriented Irvin. To this person, whoever this may be, I don't have animosity, antipathy. I say that is his opinion. And God bless him, and I hope he gets the possibility of change in his life, or realize that the majority of us do, that change is possible. Genuine, legitimate change is possible. A person doesn't have to operate necessarily out of their own truth, but operate truly. So that's my response to him.
I was less interested in a response to the person and more interested in the fact that there are many people who think that people who are in prison aren't worth having a second chance, or they aren't educated, or they're not changed by their experience. Yo, what is going on? And I think it's important to understand and to speak to what it is that they're so worried about, or what it is that is so troubling. And I don't think that is something to brush off. I don't think in your case, Irvin, for sure, and many people that you know and that we both know, that this stands, right? This does not stand up to the truth. But there are many people who have thoughts for other reasons. So I just wonder what you think in terms of like the people that you've met. What do they see that you think is both, you understand why they see it, or you don't, but you understand what's behind that?
One of the reasons why human beings are so incredible is because we span the gamut in terms of opinion, thought, experience, which is why we grow and develop, God willing, into who we shall become. Everyone is not the same. It's just not, it's not. Everyone who is in prison does not necessarily deserve to be there. Everyone who has killing another person, that is so complex. Do we say that about the police officer? Do we say that about the soldier in war? Do we say that about the person who accidentally runs someone over? I mean, because we're saying killing another person. And I'm not just speaking to this individual, I'm speaking to people who are of necessarily that mindset that we don't deserve redemption. And I think we do. I think based on the nature of who we are as human beings and what's put before us, that we do deserve that. But we have to aspire toward that. Again, playing the game, they have so many ways of finding out whether or not you're playing a game or not.
Can you say more about that? Because that's really interesting.
I served 52 years in prison. I went to prison when I was 22 years old. I came out when I was just about 75 years old. I didn't come out angry and bitter and hostile because I learned during that period about myself. I am not an angry person. I'm not a hostile person. I'm not a bitter person. I learned about not necessarily just myself, but I learned about us as human beings, as a family, as a tribe, and that we don't live this world alone, and we need one another. So, what was best for me? To be angry about my lot, be bitter, to be despicable, to be evil? No. I wanted to be all that I could be. I wanted to be the person that I knew I was, which was a human being. And I thought I was a good person who had made a mistake. Horrible mistake, but made a mistake anyway, because intent to me mattered. I did not intend for this person to die. It was not my intent. I didn't go there where I went in these circumstances looking to kill someone, to harm someone. That was not me. But it was the same results. So, understanding that about myself, which again, segueing into the other question that you asked about when did I recognize that I perhaps did not deserve to be there, was almost immediately. But I knew the politics and the circumstances were dead set against me or people like myself getting out, because they were. Go ahead.
No, there's a bunch of questions from students that I want to ask. I wasn't going to interrupt, but I am.
Go ahead. What's wrong?
Irvin, you and I had a long conversation the other night about this.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said
We did.
whatever direction. Remember
Yes,
that?
ma'am. And you know I have to get out of here early tonight.
Well, everybody knows. That's why we want to have questions before the end, so that
yes, ma'am.
they get to ask you questions. But I wanted to actually just build on what you were saying, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to go to the questions so that they get that chance. So, she's got them.
So not only is this person just not fully thinking about like your name and everything, but at the same time, he doesn't even know the full case of what happened. Like he's just making assumption after assumption and being the judge and jury. Like he's not even a part of this, it seems. The person on the comment.
Wait, but what's your question to Irvin? Because this isn't up here to talk about the person. This is up here because many people think this. So what's your question for Irvin?
How do you not care about people making judgments with something they're not even a part of?
Good question. I never said I didn't care, because I do. Again, one of the things I said when I responded to this person, when I responded to this line of thought, when I responded to this widespread acknowledgement that people have about people that have been in prison, one of the things that I definitely mean with all my heart again is that this person has their opinion. I respect that. But I still dignify this individual as a human being. So I'm not going to talk about him, I'm not going to sound him, I'm not going to catch him in the room somewhere and kick his ass, even though the old me would have wanted to do that, because I want to give him the opportunity perhaps to grow and change.
So we are remiss if we don't talk about, and you would agree with this, Irvin, people who have been victims, right? I mean, there's someone who's lost their life, but there's other people who are victims. And so we're always in tension when we're talking about humanizing and seeing the complete and utter value and dignity in someone making a mistake, or even not making a mistake, making a purposeful act, but also, being redeemed in some way. But what is it? I'm just asking all of us, right? But obviously we want to hear from you, Irvin. What does the victim deserve, right? Because Irvin and any of us can say, as soon as I did something wrong, I knew I was wrong, or whatever, right? Think of your own life experiences. But then somebody's been hurt, and that person is still hurt. And I know in our culture, we're very snarky about someone apologizing. Oh, really? That's easy to do, is apologize, but I'm still hurt, right? Or these people are still hurt. So as you thought about it over the years, Irvin, and as you do think about it, like where does that fit in with that tension between people who, well, as we all do, commit an act that harms, and then the people harmed? Like, how long does it have to go on? How long does a punishment have to go on, or a restorative process?
That sounds like two different questions.
Yeah, it's two.
One is how long does the punishment go on, in light of this person and their
Right.
personal change.
Exactly, yeah.
And the initial question was, what do we feel about the victim? Those are two different issues.
Well, in the sense of,
But
In-
again, listen to me. Every day of my life, I'm a spiritual kind of person. I believe in God. I believe in the universe. I believe in the designer in the universe, even if you don't necessarily believe in God. And I'm a prayerful man. And I don't pray for the benefit of other folk. I pray because of my relationship with the universal being, whoever that may be. And I pray every day. Every night, I pray. And I never pray without praying for the soul, the eternal soul of my victim. Ever. I've been doing this for 52 years. I pray for him, I pray for his family. All of us come from communities, and usually the harm that we inflict upon another is a person within our own community. The person that lost their lives lived in my community, wasn't a stranger. I know him, I know his family knows mine. And during this 52-year period, I've had the opportunity to make amends, at least to say I did, with his family, with my family, with myself, with God. So, to say that the victim is very seldom thought about, that's really not. Oh, excuse me. Unknown. Why do these people call me? They don't even know me. They said unknown caller. But let me turn this off. But again, we do think about the victims because they matter. The victim is not just the person that lost their lives. It's their friends, their families, their loved ones. It's the community itself from which both of us came. I'm a, man, you want me to stop?
well, I know there's a bunch of questions, so I want you to be able to receive those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Do it.
Tuesday, saying that we were basically condoning murder by having you here and kind of putting you on a pedestal, giving you an audience to talk to. And I was just wondering your response to that, why you keep coming back and sharing your story even when there's people who think that way.
I understand, because people need to hear my story. Dialogue facilitation means facilitating dialogue. And how can you have dialogue with monologues? You know? Victim-offender reconciliation is something that we started about 40, 45 plus odd years ago. And what does that mean? A person that has been victimized in our community, we bring them to a position, to a place, it's usually the penitentiary, where they can sit down and talk with the offender, with the person that caused the harm. And you would be surprised, or maybe not, at how many times the victim walked out of there feeling relieved, a catharsis of sorts, that I was able to sit down with this person and just tell them what I thought, tell them what I felt. Or I did not realize who this person was, this person that I thought was a monster. And without the exchange of stories, of tales, of experiences, that would never have happened. So some people, again, may look at me speaking, me being a person that presents at issues like this as someone who condones murder, but I don't. I don't. And again, a person, whomever they may be, is entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to begrudge them that. If I have the opportunity, and they give me the opportunity to speak to them, I will, in attempts to maybe change that. So thank you for your question.
My question was, you said yourself that as soon as you entered the prison, you were certain that you perhaps didn't deserve this. Have you had any during your 52 years? Have you had any time when where you had doubt in that? And secondly, have you ever seen someone that during your incarceration thought maybe that person deserves to be here?
Well, I did say that at one point. I said that I have seen the faces of evil, and I say I'm not an abolitionist at this point in my life because of that. Because we have not risen or developed yet to the point where people who make those kinds of mistakes, even if it's not a mistake, it's something done intentionally, would not do it again. You know, I also said that there are exhaustive systems set up, diagnostic and evaluation, that can determine, nothing is 100%, but to the nth degree, whether or not a person is rehabilitated. And of course, like some people think that some people are playing acts, and some people do, and they're good at it. But that's the world we live in. You know, who was it? Shakespeare that said the whole world is a stage, and everyone is playing their part. Was there another part to his question I didn't get?
The first part. Sorry.
The first part of your question I didn't
Say the
get.
first part of your question again.
You listen.
Oh.
I answered you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I too had the same feeling that there was a second
Okay.
part, but okay.
I did.
The first part was, have you ever had...
Oh.
She can hear. She has very good hearing. Better than mine.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The first part of the question was, have you ever had any doubt that you didn't deserve this throughout your 52 years?
Oh, I can answer that vehemently. No, not once. I used to smoke. I started smoking when I was 11 years old. I started drinking maybe the same year, 11 or 12, to the point where I was an alcoholic at that age, going to the hospital, getting my stomach pumped out, drinking every day. I graduated from that to weed, started smoking weed. Graduated soon after that to using illicit drugs like heroin. I don't do anything today. I don't do anything illicitly. I don't even take aspirin. But thank you, Lord, for putting me in a body that has not gotten me ill. I don't have any debilitations like that. So I knew when I stopped, and I said to myself, no, you can't do this anymore. It's not the right kind of way. It's not going to give you any benefits. And I stopped. Now, and I know everyone will not be able to do that. Some people need help. Some people need therapy, 12 steps, rehab, those kinds of things. And if they work, try them. Go at it. But I know myself. It took a while for me to understand, to delve deep, and it says, who am I? Who is Irvin? And when I came out of that cave, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. With my life.
Thanks. So we have 13 people lined up for questions for you. So wherever Gi-hyun is where the question is.
That means keep my answers short.
Go ahead.
All right, so my question, Irvin.
Listen to them.
I understand your situation. You committed a homicide, and I understand if you don't want to share any more details about it. But my question is there any advice you can give us so that none of us ever have to find ourselves in the situation that you were in?
Oh. Succinctly, stay on the path and the course that you're on, because you're doing something magnificent. You're doing something wonderful. You know, you're not in the streets. You're not necessarily, with rare exceptions, hustling and in the game, walking around with the pistols on you, thinking that you're in the Wild Wild West. And if you're not, then you need to stay there. Follow the advice of people that you know without a doubt are wiser, older, and more experienced than you. when that advice is to your benefit. Again, everyone in this room was raised in a family or in a community of sorts where you know right from wrong. Those are the most basic two things. We know what's right, we know what's wrong. Stay on that right path. Whatever that is, stay on that right path and don't let anyone dissuade you otherwise.
You hear me? Well, first of all, before I even ask my question, I'm gonna just tell you, Irvin, I really respect you for who you are, and I'm not saying that I condone murder or everything, but I'm saying I respect you for your change, and I can clearly see that you changed. 52 years in prison would change anyone, of course, and I really appreciate you for coming here and sharing your story with us, even though you know that you're going to receive a lot of negative energy from a lot of people, but you will not receive that from me. I respect you to the fullest extent. And my question will be, so I know you said you believe in the higher power and stuff like that. Do you believe that you were put here for this specific purpose? Like, you met Sam and his wife, and now you're here to speak to the youth about this situation. Do you believe that this is...
I understand what you're saying, but again, remember a little while ago I said, I am not... I have so many people that say, well, you're home because you're exception. You don't fit the mold. You're something else, Irvin. God or whoever that higher power may be, the universe did not single me out and say, look, I'm going to put a divine spark in you so that you do great things. No, at least I don't believe that. What was given us and given everyone in here is the ability to choose. And I choose to do what I'm doing. Again, I know the difference between right and wrong. I know what can help some people and what can hurt them. I try not to do what can hurt anybody. I try to do what I can do to help any and every one. I went to prison when I was 22 years old. It was a time when, unlike today, my peers were not making babies like you guys, or like people are making them today. So I had no children when I went to prison. And I'm in prison for 52 years. So I come home, I don't have biological children. I just don't. But I have hundreds, literally hundreds of sons and some daughters that are in my life every day. These are people whose lives I have touched or impacted in some kind of way. And I do this not for the benefit of reciprocation, but I do this because they deserve it. They deserve help. They deserve guidance. They deserve mentoring. They deserve advice. They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. And one of the ways I did that was through education, like you guys are doing. So invaluable.
And just to add on and amplify what you just said, you've said many times to me, and also connects to your question, that if you had had a mentor, how different your life would have been, right?
And I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly. If I had someone that had guided and helped, at least said, come here, Irvin, sit down. Let me talk to you about the path that I see you embarked upon. Instead of that, do this, do that. I believe if that had happened, but who knows? I might not be sitting here today.
You wouldn't be sitting here today.
So
who knows what you'd be doing?
I don't know how good or bad that was.
So what's the next person with a question? Right back here.
Just wanted to ask, by the way, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. During your time in prison, you met a lot of people. Did you meet anyone that you thought was beyond saving, irreparable, or just, man, if this guy got out of prison, the damage he'd do to society, like, we can't have him out? Did you meet anyone who made you feel that way, even with the perspectives you have now?
Yeah, question. I can hardly hear.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm always saying, what did he say?
You know
what was the question?
The acoustics are terrible right here.
I can raise my voice.
It's
not your fault.
Yeah, it's not
Sorry.
your fault. But isn't your question, is there someone that Irvin met that you were like, irredeemable? This person is not
Yeah,
fit
from his
to be-
perspective, was there anyone who he thought was just not even with the perspective we have now and what we're talking about, was incapable of leaving prison, they would have done damage to society, or in your opinion, they would have been?
Well, remember, why am I not an abolitionist? For that reason.
Maybe say what you mean by abolitionist, because maybe
a person who wants to see prisons razed to the ground, and I say an abolitionist today. Intrinsically, I do want to see prisons gotten rid of. I want to see poverty eradicated. I want to see illiteracy vanished, homelessness, starvation, wars, but we're not there yet. So, have I seen anyone in my 52-year experience in prison that I said, "Ooh, he needs to be here"? Of course. Of course. Wait a minute. I've seen, as I said, the face of evil. And not necessarily all inmates, but I've seen the face of evil. Concurrently, I've also seen saints and sages and wise men walking those halls, those caverns. And they were prisoners as well.
Can you give an example? Just like when you were like, I saw the face of evil, or here's a person that just, they need to be here. I mean, some kind of way to help us see it.
I mean, I saw people who refused to acknowledge their responsibility for horrendous things. And they reached out and blamed the world, blamed society, blamed their mothers, their fathers, their friends, they blamed their love, they blamed everyone except themselves. And I saw them on the inside do those same acts again. Because what happens out here also happens in there. You know, people are raped in there, they're brutalized, they're murdered on the inside. You know, they're taken advantage of, predated. All of that happens on the inside. And I know the guys that did this. Some of them, quite often, I'd have a talk, we'd have a conversation, we'd talk. Which is why I truthfully, I believe in redemption. I believe that a person can say, I didn't understand, and change drastically from that point, because I've seen that happen. But I've also seen guys that say, "Oh man, get the fuck it, man. You know, no, I'm going to do this." So again, in answer to your question, yes, I've seen people who, unless they change, unless they become someone who they are not at this particular moment, they deserve to be there.
So we heard you say last class that when you got out of prison, you thought that people who were on the outside were kind of sad, right? So I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Kind of sad? Yeah. Okay. One of the things, it's not that many things that surprised me when I came home, when I came back out to the world, because this is what we call where we're at now. We call this the world, which is pretty much the same thing that the young soldiers called coming back home when they were in the midst of war. They said, "Boy, I can't wait to get back to the world, because this here is a nightmare." So that's how we thought about imprisonment and being in those kinds of places, that this was the world. But out here is different, because there's so many opportunities that we don't have on the inside. Every day, every morning when I wake up, remember I said I'm a prayerful man, I say prayers every day. A couple of things I do as well. One, on the inside, when I woke up every day, because when you go to sleep, you dream, and every one of my dreams was about being home, being out in the world, being with my family, my mother, my father, my brothers, my community, just doing things that I knew I could do. And when I woke up, I looked around very fast. I said, "Oh, shit, it was a dream. It was a dream." And today, every day that I wake, every day I wake up and I look around real fast and say, "Oh, it's not a dream. It's not a dream. And I'm filled with joy. I'm filled with exhilaration. I'm filled with promise. I'm filled with the idea that this day is another day that I can use to become and be a blessing in someone's life.
But what about the rest of us? What do you see in the rest of us?
That's what I'm leading up to. And I don't see that as effusively as I think I should. I mean, because all of you guys are out here. This is the world out here. You can do anything that you want to do. Of course, we all have challenges and obstacles. They exist for everyone. But that's what life is. But you have the opportunity to address those. You have the opportunity to whatever you see in yourself to touch and help it, nurture it, make it grow. Or you have the opportunity to look in yourself and see those places that are weak and fragile and address those as well. So, my question is, why are people so sad? Why are people so depressed? Why are you so depressed? I wake up, I go to the door of my apartment. I live in an apartment, it's State College, little joint. But for 52 years, I lived in a toilet, 6 by 7 with another man, a bunk bed, a table, the toilet right next to my head. So you're locked in, quite often. So if you're locked in with a cellie who is sick and ill, diuretically so, what do? And you're laying in bed and he comes to sit on the toilet. I'm sorry, what do? You turn over, put the covers over your head, and you bear it. You don't have to do that out here. My little apartment, I get up and I walk out of my bedroom, walk down the hallway, go to the living room, I look around, I go to the door, open the door, I can step outside and I say, oh, universe, thank you, with a smile on my face, and Cora right here beside me saying, come on, we're going outside, we ready? We're going out? I can do that here every day. I walk down to my refrigerator, and this is no joke. I grab a chair, they can put it in front of the refrigerator, open the door and just look. I look at what I have in the refrigerator, say, if I wanted to, I could have that. I could have that, I could have this, I can eat eggs, I can make this, I can make that.
So, Irvin, do you think we don't have enough challenges? Is that why
No, it's not that you don't have challenges, because you're responding to the challenges in what I think is a hurtful way. Challenges can be overcome. Instead of saying, oh my Lord, woe is me, oh this, not this again. We are an incredible creation, meaning human beings. We are incredible. I mean, I take my hat off to us as a species, as a creation, because we have so much going for us. Unlike the animals, we have the ability to change our own destinies. We have the ability to choose. We have the ability to think. We have the ability to create. We have the ability to imagine. And you can't say that for everything. So I tell people, I says, oh, there's so much in your life to feel blessed about, joyous about. So it's part of my message when I talk to people. Go ahead.
No, I just want to
Thank you.
Get your attention.
This is it. Blessings.
And I want to get another question. Go ahead. And I want to invite people to put their phones away, because you don't get the opportunity, even though I know a lot of you are right here with Irvin, but some of you aren't, and you just don't get the opportunity to be with an elder, a true elder. And I'm not talking about age. Like, you all know that Irvin had an experience that transformed him, and transformation is way more than a simple word to throw around. So I just want to keep us tuned in. So go ahead with your question.
So I wanted to know, as someone who is kind of following religion and has religious ideals, and someone who's spent so much time in prison and seen, as you said, like the face of evil, what's your view on the death penalty? On can people really come back from being as evil as you can get from both a legal and a religious standpoint? And is there room for people to kind of grow, or is there people who have no chance and there's no point in even having them in a prison?
I would succinctly say that your question is, what is my view on the death penalty? We've executed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And so many of them we've done, and they were innocent. We found out whatever means DNA, recanting statements, and new evidence that was admitted. We found out that we put them to death unjustly. And a lot of times politics were involved. A lot of times the inherent racism or biasness of the system itself were involved. And people were unfairly judged and executed. So, no, I don't believe necessarily in the death penalty because, and this is a Christian country for the most part. And it's no besmirching on Muslims or Hindus or anyone of any other faith. But generically, this is a Christian country. And even though they say an eye for an eye, they also say, thou shalt not what? Thou shalt not kill. They don't say, thou shalt not kill unless. Thou shalt not kill. Because I believe firmly in the sanctity of life. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. Someone would say, well, if you believe in the sanctity of life, would you kill someone? And I will spend the rest of my life, every day, atoning for that. And talking to people to make sure that possibly they never make those same kinds of mistakes as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my situation doesn't even begin to compare, but my father, he spent just short of a decade in prison, and I know he and a lot of people...
Hey, wait a second. Neither of us can really hear you, so maybe just put the mic really close and...
I know the situation doesn't begin to compare, but my father spent just short of a decade in prison, and I know he and a lot of people he met in prison celebrate the day that they were released as their birthday now. And I wonder if you had like the same outlook on life, like it's their birthday, they're a new person, if you have a similar outlook like that.
Do you have a birthday that you celebrate when you were released, like a rebirth day?
Oh, no, look. I'm 78 years old, and I love the fact that I'm 78 years old. I earned my age. I earned my birthday, August the 8th. Remember that, everybody. I take gifts. But no, I'm just playing about that. But no, the day I was born has special meaning in my life, of course. The day that I was released, a rebirth, has special meaning in my life. I don't put one above the other. I enjoy holidays, I enjoy celebrations, I enjoy sharing that with other folk. So.
Go ahead.
Hey, Irvin, got a question for you. So regarding like a term that's commonly talked about and heard in like real life stories and movies about inmates who have spent more time in prison than they have outside, that they're become institutionalized, and you leave prison and feel shell-shocked by the responsibilities of the world and begin missing the things that were involved in your life in prison. And I just wanted to hear your take on if you felt that when you left.
Well, going back again to what I said about human beings, we are amazing. We're adaptable. You know, we can change. I spent.
Can I answer this question? I think I have a better answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually, because I am a witness, and I saw Irvin literally, not come out the door of the prison, but 24 hours later, I was with him, and an hour after that, we were at Walmart Supercenter in Johnstown, and I was shocked. I mean, that's just kind of funny. Oh, and then an hour after that, we were buying a cell phone, and he was watching how a credit card is used, but walking through the store, going through the freezer aisle, getting things out of the freezer, trying on clothes, like total normalcy from Irvin. And I know from people that worked with you, Irvin, that was exceptional. And so even though Irvin, his mission is for us to understand that there are many people behind bars that are exceptional humans, right? Good people. Irvin himself, from all that I can tell you that I watched him go through, was exceptional. And you talked about sometimes you look at the pictures of yourself from a couple years ago, and you say you can see like the institution on you.
Oh yeah, I could.
I can see that a little bit too. But it was. I can just say as a witness to every step of it, to getting an apartment, learning how to drive, getting a job, now becoming a student.
Registering to vote.
I mean, it's been amazing. Anyway, I just think that it's important to realize that the people who made your commutation possible at the governor's level recognize Irvin as exceptional. So we just have to say that. So I think
One more question. Now, who shall it be?
Hi, right here.
Okay, there we go.
So my question, or you've mentioned many times.
Wait, put the mic really close to your mouth. There you go.
Sorry.
Guys, the class is not over yet. Come on.
You mentioned many times that you aren't an abolitionist because of people you've encountered during your sentence. My question to you is, what do you think separates American society from places like Norway and Sweden, where they have like a rehabilitative style incarceration? And do you think that America could ever get to that point?
What separates us in the U.S. from other places like Norway and Finland?
Oh, good Lord. When I was 17 years old, it was during the time of the Black Power movement in the 60s, when the time of tumultuous change everywhere, political, economic, culturally, music, dance, women's rights, Black Power.
Irvin, I just got this message that they have to put the quiz up, so just,
Okay. We incarcerate more people than any country on the planet. First world, second world, third world, what have you. And we incarcerate them for longer periods than any other country imaginable. We need to do something about that.
Is there hope?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
All right.
This is hope here. This is what I'm looking at today is hope. You guys give me life. You give my wings lift and support, because I believe wholeheartedly that we will get where we need to be because of you.
Thanks, Irvin. Thanks, Cora.
All right, Izzy, I think we're good for the quiz.
Do you want to just head out? Because they're just going to do a quiz.